We have a final coming up very soon. You need to look at your syllabus and you need to look at announcements or in-class announcements, whichever one you are, to see when your final is. These are posted on our website. It's also in our syllabus, and more details will be coming, like especially for online. However, you are getting this review 2 weekends out before the final. I just wanted to take a few minutes and walk you through some pieces and parts of this to let you know what I was thinking and what I was meaning when I wrote this. So this is our study guide for fall 2018, and it is comprehensive. Everything that we've learned this entire semester has an equally likely chance of being on the test, sort of. And so the parts that I really want you to pay attention to, well, all of it, but I'll explain some of it. So in this very first part, know how to do the problems asked on tests 1, 2, and 3. I've been stressing this the whole way through. Like when you finish test 1, go find out what you missed, learn how to do that, and then the same thing for test 2 and 3. What's going to happen is about half of the final will literally be cut and paste from test 1 and 2 and 3. There will be around 20 questions on the final. The final is 2 hours long, whether you're online Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday. You get 2 full hours to take the final. And it's going to be about 20 questions. I don't see it being more than that, maybe more like 18. But one thing that you can start by doing is looking back at your tests 1, 2, and 3. Remember everything that you used to know how to do, refresh your memory, and then go back and make sure that you know the things that you didn't know then, that you now know how to do those. So the next big part, because that's about half the test. Know the information below as well as memorize necessary formulas referenced for calculations. And I'll be real specific about what's going to be on the test and what is not going to be on the test. Most of the formulas will be provided, but let's walk through some pieces and parts. So explaining something like on number 3, make sure you know how to decide winners by majority, by instant runoff, and by board account. I've referenced some of our lessons and the sections, and also I would go back and look like at test 1. What did it look like on test 1 for majority, instant runoff, or board account? And if I'm telling you there are going to be about 20 questions on the test, possibly there's one of these on the test. Same thing here, like on question 4, know how to calculate and use weighted averages to analyze and draw conclusions. Like go to 5C. Was that on one of these tests, test 1 or test 2? What did it look like there? And if not, what does it look like either in the study plan or in your homework? And you can go look through your grade book at the drop down per each lesson or per each section, and you can look at to preview or review. I'm not sure what it looks like on yours, but the drop down gives you options. Know how to calculate for probabilities for independent and dependent events. They're really close together. And again, what did it look like on the test? If it wasn't tested, then go back and look at the study plan or within our notes in class where I would have said, hey, you really need to know this. Or form some study groups and talk about what you think could be on the test. You have a lot of people who have really good ideas and thoughts and a grasp on the lessons. And together, y'all could put together a really good game plan of what you think is going to be on the test. Calculate and compare average cost. That was on one of the tests, and it's in 5A. Know how to calculate ratios, and a lot of this repeats itself, so I would probably only ask it once. Well, here's a good one, how to calculate front end and back end. That was on a test, and it didn't go over too well with most of the students, so that would definitely be something I'd like to bring back around. Know how to calculate absolute and relative change. We were doing that today in class. That's probably a for sure to be on the test. Know how to calculate using estimation, interpolation, extrapolation, and that big old equation. You don't have to memorize that equation, but you do need to know how to manipulate it, and I believe that was on our last test. Know how to describe correlation and its strength, and we're coming back around to that, so that'll be a really good refresher, not only with 9D, but in some upcoming lessons. Same here, the coefficient of determination. It was in 8D, but it's coming back around in these lessons. How do you calculate compound and simple interest? I'll have these formulas on the test, but you're going to have to know how to find the information in the paragraph and put it correctly into the formula. You need to know how to find what you need and manipulate it correctly. Know how to calculate various parts of depreciation. And that I think was on the last test we did, test 3. The equation of the value, the meaning of what is a y-intercept, and the meaning of slope. These are really, really good and worth putting on a final. How do you calculate pay raises? That was on a previous test. Do you remember how to do that? What does it look like that? And how could I ask that on a test? I think by looking back at the old tests, you'll have a pretty good idea what that looks like. On 17, I don't have any section, but it's just an overall understanding of how to substitute information into different letters and to solve for a given equation. Whatever is going on, do you have that skill set? And I would say you need to refresh on that, but just for everything we have done, we keep taking variables and plugging them in information and manipulating them to get what we are looking for. Do you know how to calculate percentage growth? That was in a recent test. And to be able to predict if it's an exponential model. That was 10A. Do you know how to calculate carrying capacity, how to sketch that model and describe its behavior of the fast growth and the slow growth? Do you know various types of, and here are just words, 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 words. Y'all remember all of this. Words, 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 words. And all of this went to the last test. I had many of you say how much you liked doing the words. And so here you go. This is a big chunk that's eligible to be on the final. And then we get down to this piece here. All of these, you're going to be seeing them as eligible on test 4. So that's why all of this looks a bit different than the rest, because this is going to become clearer as we work on preparing for test 4. So you've got a couple of weekends, several weeks. How do you plan this out? You need to look at your work schedule, babysitting schedules, things like this down here at the bottom, the tutoring schedule. I'm actually going to click on that in a minute. And map out about 25 pieces of information, unless you want to count the tests individually, you might count it more as like 27 pieces. And you can do like 3 a night, 4 or 5 a night, or 2 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, and 2 at night. But you've got to map out your plan. You cannot start looking at this the night before the final or even the week before the final. So you're looking at this, especially everything 1 through 20. 21 through 25 are going to develop over the next 2 weeks. So if you concentrate on numbers 1 through 20, you're going to have the bulk of the final in your mind, in your understanding, on flashcards or on a glossary like we've talked about, in your notes with sticky tabs, however you want to study this. But I would spend a large portion of your time looking at 1 through 20 over the next week or so, because as we finish the rest of our lessons, you are going to see them on test 4, and that's going to be great preparation for the final by getting ready for test number 4. So the rest of these things are eligible to be on the final. The focus would be, what does it look like on test 4, and what are the things I'm stressing in class or on the videos as being important out of these lessons. There will be a packet that we talk through on set theory information, and it is also eligible to be on the final. Finally, I want to draw your attention to the bottom of this page. There is the tutoring schedule link. You have already paid for these hours. And when I go here, I have to go ahead and open hyperlink. You have the complete schedule for Kingwood. You are eligible to go to any campus that has math tutoring, any of our centers that have math tutoring. You have paid for it. Take this schedule and map it out. Look at the different times they're open, write them in your calendar. Write when you are going to go. Bring people or take people with you. Maximize these hours so that you could take like the review and say, hey, what do you think this means? And Study it with others, look at it, take the tests, your test 1, 2, and 3, take those with you to the tutoring center. I have office hours. Bring those to me. We can talk through those during my office hour, which are listed at the front of my syllabus. Lots of things that you need to be intentional in preparation for the final. Finish large, finish strong, because the final is worth 25%, 1/4 of your grade, which can make your grade go up. It could also make your grade go down. So spend just really quality time working on preparing for this final. The final things I would mention about preparing for the final is to make sure that you write down this important information, like when is it? And what time, or if you're online, what times and days will it be open? And then what room? If you're face to face, you have a room. It's going to be our same room that we've been meeting in class. And then the room for the other would be the testing center hours. I would go look now and see what the testing center hours are for that week. You have to look at your work schedule. You have to adjust. You have to ask off for certain periods of time. You've got to make this happen. It is really important. And then I would make some notes about what you're going to bring, your calculator, paper, pens, pencils, and definitely determination and confidence. I believe that the words that we speak to ourselves are very powerful. So practice speaking great things to yourself. Put in a lot of good study time, not just hollow hours, but spend in really quality time studying for this final. And don't forget, or go ahead and make plans to have something that you did do to celebrate, whether it's the grade that you wanted. Still celebrate that you've made it through a semester of mathematics, and whether it be large or small, do something to reward yourself for making it through this class, and especially for finishing strong on this final.